This is Ellen Marks, the Roger Sherman Building Committee. Today is July 24th, 2020, and the time is 2:47. You may begin, Eric.
Thanks. This is Eric Lang, the chairman of the building committee. The meeting is called to order. First item on the agenda is I'd like to make a motion to go into a closed executive session to conduct strategy session in regards to an electrical distribution change order and library learning center ductwork change order. The committee invites Sal Morabito of Fairfield Public Schools, David Stein of Silver Petrocelli, and Mark Schweitzer of Colliers into the executive session. Do I have a second?
I second that, Meredith.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to be putting everybody else on hold. You will hear music until the meeting reconvenes.
Ellen, it's Meredith. Are you there?
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to unlock Dr. Banner and Christine.
Okay.
Okay, Ellen, I think you want to, do we need to give a time that we're coming back into regular session here?
I can see that it's 3:18.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so welcome back, everyone.
Is the recording restarted?
Oh, good point. Ellen, are we recording still?
Oh, I never took it off of the recording. But
Ooh.
I don't know if they could hear you. Oh, no.
Well, let's continue on and we'll figure out the technology stuff.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so the next item on the agenda is to hear, consider, and act upon the following items. First one is change order regarding electrical proposals for the sub-panel feeders. I'm going to make a motion to approve this change order in the value of $87,056.97 on a time and material basis, not to exceed that value as offered by the contractor. Do I have a second?
Just a question on that.
Hold on. I'll second the motion, and then now go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Going to take the discussion. All right. You're right. Do we have to, since that additional money that I brought up as being, because it is a change order, does the contractor have to include that amount? Can we just approve the initial amount? $92,000.
Mark, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, well, part of how Diversity's contract is written, they have, by contract, they can put their markup of 5% on any change order. So this would be deemed a change order to their contract. So they would be allowed to take the 5% markup.
Yeah, but we're approving the time and materials.
But if I can just ask a question with that, if we're doing this on time and materials, I understand the concept of why to do that, but then aren't we going to be paying Mark to oversee this, and isn't this going to become a much more complicated thing that's going to end up costing us more money in the end based on having Mark involved, like daily checking on time and materials?
Well, so one strategy that we could take is to not request Colliers to provide any additional oversight and essentially leave it up to the contractor, which I'm always hesitant to do for them
right.
to self-police. But if the way I see it, we have two options. We can approve it as is because this work is essential to completing the job for the full amount, or we can complete it, or we can approve it as time and material not to exceed this amount, so that there is potentially an outside chance that the work gets done quicker and there's some savings on this number. And there would be no additional cost to us, oversight cost or what have you, associated with it.
And it's not going to cost any more of David Stein's time? David?
I am muted. No, there's no additional cost on our time. It was all part of the original base contract and what we would be reviewing anyway.
All right. Well, then it sounds like there's no downside, and you never know, we might get lucky and get some upside.
Yep.
Yeah, the downside is that there is an incentive. There's an incentive on the part of the contractor not to find every nickel and dime in time and materials, because then he's impacting his change order percentage. So
yeah, I mean, I seriously doubt he's going to come back with any savings, but I guess it doesn't cost us anything to give it a whirl.
No, but at the same time, his incentive is he needs to finish this project on time. So all of the burden now falls on his shoulders. And when we looked at the hours, we projected it would actually be less hours than he was projecting. So if he does move through as an efficient way, you may yield some savings, mainly so his incentive is actually to finish on time, because we're giving him all this work to do. So it's now he has to finish the entire project. So I think there's the incentive.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so he's still beholden by the contract, the time limitations in the contract.
And that's one thing I would recommend as part of the motion, is that it does not extend the project extension time, that this change order has zero increase to time.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't asked for that. He has not put that, so I would specifically put that as part of the motion.
Eric, do you want to amend the motion?
Yes. So I will. So the amended motion is to approve the, change order 1 in the amount of $87,056.97 on a time and material basis, not to exceed that number, and under the conditions that the contract, that there is no extension to the contract schedule.
I second that motion. Right?
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving this change order, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I don't think any other members have joined yet. Is that correct?
Right.
So,
correct.
Okay, so all voted in favor. Okay. The next change order is change order 2 for the LMC ductwork modifications. We had discussed this one in the executive session, and my belief is that this change order resulted from a alternate piece of equipment selected by the subcontractor, which resulted in an extension of the ductwork and steel modification to accommodate that alternate spec. The that change was not presented at the time that the alternate was proposed, and as such, I don't believe this is a legitimate change order, and I'm recommending that we not approve it.
Okay, there's no motion. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve it?
No, I would just second the motion at this point.
Well, there's no motion made, so no one made a motion to approve it. So.
Okay. So not hearing a motion to approve, we'll move on to the next change order, which is, and this is indicated as PCO number 1, to remove duct and associated work per RFI number 5 in the amount of $2,695.85. I will make a motion to approve this change order. Do I have a second?
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Okay. Thank you, Meredith. So for discussion purposes, again, David, can you just kind of explain what this change order was for? It seems to allude to a existing duct being in the way of the new ductwork that is providing air conditioning to the APR. Is that correct?
Correct. So so there is a fan room facing the stage just to the right. There's existing ductwork that was sort of in the way as they started doing their final measurements to get to do their shop drawing. So they did identify this as part of their original due diligence, and essentially, our team went out there, took a look at it, and made recommendations on to how to relocate and rework the ductwork.
What is the existing? Is the existing ductwork abandoned, or?
Yeah, there's an infill. It really just there's an intake louver which is up high, which just draws in. I think was intended to draw in fresh air from above, or maybe even just a passive exhaust up high. And for us to get our ductwork in, this piece was in its way, and we needed to sort of rework around it.
Okay. And you have reviewed this change order and believe it to be legitimate?
Yeah, I think the only thing I have to say is we just have to make sure that we get the cover sheet and nomenclature correct, so it's they have their numbers straight. It's more just the presentation of the change order than it is the value. But that will get rectified when an official AIA change order is issued.
So can I ask a question? It's Meredith. Is there any time sensitivity on this one? Do we have all the information? Dave, do you have all the information you need to have you signed off on this? Do we have to approve this one today?
I think there's enough information here. It's more of just the paperwork, and maybe okay. Mark could jump in too. But I think where we're sitting here at the end of July, it's prudent to, and especially we may not have a meeting on Tuesday, I think it's prudent to move this forward.
Okay. Mark, are you comfortable with this?
Yes, I am comfortable with this.
Okay.
And we can get the paperwork straightened out with them, or we just call it what we want to call it, and that's what goes on the contract change order to them, and the extension of the PO.
Okay. So So just modify the motion then to approve the change order contingent on cleaning up of the nomenclature and numbering of this PCO.
All right, I'll second the amended motion.
Okay. Any further discussion from the committee? All right. All those in favor?
Gramercy area, so it would be
Aye.
Aye. Here. And so just an example, a blue.
All right. All in favor? All right. I think that is all of the change orders.
Penetration here.
Yes, it is.
I know. All right.
Like this.
I know.
Actually, we're
Brian, you need to jet. I guess the only other thing we can do quickly, if you have a second, is to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of July 7th.
That's fine.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes. Do I have a second?
I can't hear with all of the background noise. There's background noise from somewhere.
All right.
Okay.
I have a second. All those or any discussion?
I didn't hear your motion.
Eric
All right.
Eric made a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting dated July 7th, 2020. Meredith seconded the motion.
Okay.
Hey, excuse me, folks. This is a special meeting. You can't approve minutes during a special meeting. And I don't believe it was on your agenda.
It is on the
It's
agenda.
on the agenda.
Yeah,
All right.
I've always been told that you're not supposed to do that.
All right. We'll table it.
Well, it's not pressing. We can hold it to the our next meeting on the 4th, on August 4th. Okay. So with that, Brian, thank you for calling in today. Very much appreciated. And if you have to run, please feel free to do so.
I do. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.
Too.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. So, with Brian's departure, we no longer have a quorum, but I would like to take a few minutes for those of us left to receive a quick update from Colliers and Silver Petrocelli on the project.
Yep. Real quickly, the locker fronts were replaced on July 10th. They did everything that they needed to do except replace the number plates on the lockers. They went off the contract documents and not their field notes from when they were on site in February. Or when they were on site in February, they did not note the locker plate numbers. So the deal we have worked out with Penco is they will supply the correct numbers and the rivets to do it, and FPS will have their personnel install the locker plates, which is 2 rivets for each door.
Mark, have you seen the lockers, and are you happy with them?
Yes, I'm happy with them. And as we came up to this, I did have pictures of them, but I did not send them out. I will send them out after the meeting for everyone to peruse. They look good. The gap across each door is uniform. It's not like it was. And they reinstalled the tops to all the lockers, so it looks like a complete installation now, with the exception of the number plates.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
And
yep, good.
As of this past Monday, we moved forward with the replacement of the one VCT in front of lockers and the rubber base for them. and we're proceeding with issuing POs for that work, the hallway painting, and the shelf above the kindergarten classroom.
So just for the record, this was something that I had approved under the authority given to me by the committee for work under $15,000. So.
And then with the construction schedule, the work in the classrooms will be wrapping up. They should be done by the end of next week, maybe a couple days into the next. But classrooms 1 through 8, the units have been installed and have been wired. They went through one round of inspection this week, and they'll be coming back for, I believe it was today, that they're coming back for another inspection. With that, there was a couple items that they needed to reinspect. With that, they will be doing classrooms 10 through 15 at the same time, or the goal was to get 10 through 15 done at the same time, to turn those classrooms back over to the school for cleaning, and then the remaining 4 or 5 classrooms would be done by the end of next week, maybe that Monday or Tuesday, the following week. But they are staying in front of the custodian and his cleaning schedule for the school. So, there should be no effect on the school, on the classrooms if or when the students come back. And then we are waiting for the rooftop units for, rooftop 2 and 4 for the gym and the LMC to be shipped from Wisconsin. The initial ship date was August 4th. I believe they pushed that to August 7th. So they should be on site the 2 weeks after that. It should be the week of the 21st or 21st, I believe, is they should be on site and installed at that point, and it should be a week after that to hook everything else up to it, and then a week of testing and inspection for that. So first day of school, the goal is to have all 3 rooftop units up and running and those 3 rooftop units service the gym, the APR, and the LMC. The classrooms will have been done the first week in August by that time.
And Mark, the testing and the balancing does that involve the classrooms as well?
Those are individual units. They are not. So I would defer to Dave, but I believe they would look at them, but it's not as crucial as a rooftop unit and getting balancing those units to get the airflow into the spaces.
And so Meredith, they're all part. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
The testing and balancing of those units are required. It's fairly simple in terms of the testing and balancing for those particular units, but each of the 3 in the classroom will require a balance and a test that goes along with it. With that being said, it's not as complicated as it is with a rooftop unit, but it still is part of their action item to do.
And with the testing and balancing of the ones in the classroom, will that take place not until the very end, the week of August 31st, or will those be ready to go earlier?
They'll be ready to go once the full power is up. Okay. There are rooftop units that are part of this. These are not air handler units. They are essentially condensing units like what you have outside your house. Those need to be fully functional before they do that work. So essentially, whenever that is complete, they can they can start that testing and balancing. It could run parallel, and I think that's one of the reasons why this design was connected. You don't have one central unit serving the entire school. There are, zones and areas that can be constructed and commissioned at different times if they plan it accordingly that way.
And then the testing and balancing that needs to take place in the other parts of the school the week of August 31st, like would the AC still be running then or not necessarily?
We would want the AC we would want those units to be fully functional so they can be fully commissioned.
But are they functional while you're testing and balancing or not?
Yes, they're they're fully they're ready to go. They're fully operational, and you're just testing to make sure that it's running as intended.
Right. I'm just wondering, if it's going to come down to the wire, so I guess, my question is, it sounds like air conditioning will be flowing in the building if all goes well the week of August 31st, and it might not be perfect, but it'll be working as they test and balance it.
Yeah, so I understand where your question's coming from. Yes, I think that is their plan. The only point I want to make, and I don't know if Mark you'll get to that yet, is the email that he did send to us about these delays and that these potentially have some COVID impacts. And I did request for them to provide backup going all the way back from the manufacturer explaining what his delays were and also his chronology of when he ordered the unit and when the notification or delay notifications were given. So we have a record of when he ordered the equipment, when things were delayed, and when they may have been delayed a second or a third time, and what those impacts are and where they landed in his critical path. So right now he's made mention that he may have potential delays related to COVID, that the delays in product is related to COVID, but he hasn't provided anything beyond that. And, we're going to need to see that just as a matter of record. He agreed to do so, and he's going to try to compile that.
So, a couple questions. Number one, on the VRFs for the classrooms, so those will be able to be started up and tested and balanced upon full power. Given the fact that we just approved the change order for them to run the cable from the main distribution panel to the panel servicing these units, remind me again what their estimated time frame for that electrical work was?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, so they should be done with that by August 14th. So that would be the earliest that the VRFs could be tested and balanced. More likely probably the week of the 17th.
That
correct?
Yes. Yeah, that sounds correct, yes.
So I would request that we, because it is an isolated system and isolated from the RTUs, I would request that we do that as soon as possible so that as teachers are returning to school to set up their classrooms and stuff, at least they have nice school classrooms to set up in. So that would be my first request. And then so if you guys could just keep that in mind during the OACs and in your conversations with diversity, that we'd be looking to do that independent of the RTUs. And in my experience, you would have different manufacturers and different procedures for the different equipment types anyway. So I don't see that being, or that should not be an issue to do separately. The other question I had was RTU 3, which is the one serving the APR, correct?
Correct.
That's already on the roof, right? Is that picked into place already?
Yes, that's what he stated
that's how
on
I know it.
Wednesday.
Okay. So that would be, I guess, the only other one that we would be able to do the week of the 17th to get that one up and running, because everything should be ducted to it, power should be run to it. We should be ready to go with that again as soon as we have power to it. So I would request that we look into getting that one tested and balanced prior to the other units, given that it's potentially 2 to 3 weeks earlier. I think it would be good to have that one up and running as well for staff meetings, lunches, so on and so forth, that Dr. Banner can conduct his business in the APR with his staff in a nice, cool environment. Do you guys see any issues with that?
No, they should be looking to get done. They should be looking to get the testing and balancing done as soon as possible in front of the return of school, and that's what we've talked about in the past at the OACs as far as getting the upfront work done for the rooftop units. And this would be, you don't want to be doing RTU 3 after 2 and 4 have been set and at the same time. If anything, they get it done and get it out of the way.
Exactly. Okay, good. Okay. Any other questions for Mark on the schedule? All right. Mark, in light of the large change order we just approved, can you give us an update on the financial status report?
Yes. I mean, it is, well, with the exception of and I apologize, I went off the cover sheet instead of the second page, so I missed the $87,000, the additional $5,000. So I did set out a financial status report. I did encumber the 82 on it, and on that 82, with the difference, we had a balance on our contingency of $36,700, of which an additional $5 will come off for the markup. So we're down to, I believe I just saw the live version of about $32,400. So there is still money in there. I believe we have encumbered on the third sheet of the PDF of the financial summary. I included all the PCOs that we are tracking, and with we'll approve the painting of the lockers, the bases. So all these items have been encumbered in the financial status, and we still have a balance of $36,700 on our contingency.
When does that contingency, factor in the other ones that we just approved today, the $4,000 and the $2,600?
Yes.
Okay.
And it includes
so with the 3 we approved today, we still have about $31,000 left in the contingency.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the committee? Anything else, Mark, you'd like to share?
Nope, I am good.
All right. Update from Silver Petroselli on the construction and change orders, which I think we covered pretty well here. Anything, David, you'd like to add?
No, not at all. I think, we've been dealing with the issues, and if they've been coming our way, we're addressing them, and we'll continue to do that and monitor their schedule. We have requested, as I mentioned, an updated schedule. He's expecting to have that to us. We're also, expecting their payment applications to be timely. So, we're trying to hold them accountable to stay on track. They have some work to do, so I think, as Meredith said, it's going to be touch and go to the end. That's really where we are. There's no way we could endorse whether they'll absolutely finish on time, but at the same time, he keeps saying that's his goal. So we'll continue to track it, and I think the next 2 weeks is going to be telling.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Meredith. I just want to say thank you to David and his firm, because I feel like you guys are incredibly responsive and answer all of their questions and get back to get back to everyone in a very timely manner. And you're doing everything you can to make this move along smoothly. And I feel like everyone in your firm has been very helpful to this project. So I just want to say thank you. Dave,
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
do you or Sal have any? Yeah, it's really true. Do you or Sal have any information on? I know, Sal, you had mentioned that the town is looking into like an upgraded filter system, or the units we're putting in. Like, how were they going to filter for COVID? Or can you talk to that?
What we're doing is we're getting engineering assistance to go through our schools. There was a guidance document put out by the state, and while it's great that they made some of these recommendations, some of the recommendations don't necessarily work with the equipment we have or the change in weather that we'll have. For instance, one of the items was to open the outside air dampers full open and keep them that way. And that's not something that you necessarily do in the wintertime, unless you want to heat the great outdoors. So, that's amazingly inefficient. So there has to be a balance in that. Everybody's talking about MERV 14 filters, which just grabs finer particulates than a MERV 11 or a MERV 8, which is more standard. That's fine and dandy, but we might not have a big enough motor to create a big enough draw through the unit for the unit to run with the more restrictive MERV 14 filters in it. It might be that we would have to make a substantial upgrade in motors for that to occur on certain systems. So with that being said, we're with right now purchasing to hire engineering firms to assist us in determining what it is that we can do with these new design parameters in our building, and try to get that accomplished through the before school opens. There'll be some things that are obviously very easy to do, and some things that are might need more engineering or investigation. So that we have, we're in the process of getting the engineers on site now, and would have more. And Dave's firm would, for Sherman, talk about that one as to what can happen.
So I could chime in just briefly. The VRFs, obviously, there's not much that goes on with that. As you know, part of your previous phase that was done a few years ago, that's when you brought in outside air and you had ventilation that was brought into the building. That would need some engineering investigation, as Sal mentioned, to determine whether or not you have the ability within the fan units themselves to be able to change filters and allow it to still function as it was originally designed. So it needs some investigation to do that.
Because Dave, those units are providing the outside air.
That's correct. So
the classrooms.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. So you would need to, if you're going to, and there's a return with that, and you're going to need to filter that, as Sal mentioned, but you need to make sure that if you're going to further filtrate, you have the fan power to do that, and that's what would need to get investigated. So it's not as simple as just changing out one filter to a better filter. It would need some engineering study, but and that's what Sal is looking at, and what could be achieved easily, as opposed to changing out motors and upgrading. So, every one of your buildings is different age, different generation, and such, and it's going to need someone to study that.
So, but now in the case of the RTUs that we're putting in, these are obviously new pieces of equipment, presumably, latest advances, technology, so on and so forth. Are they able to accommodate MERV 14 filters, number one? And number two, if they are, can we install them prior to testing and balancing? Because obviously, if they do filter that fine of a particulate, as Sal stated, the motors are going to need to be adjusted, and all of that would be part of any testing and balancing procedure. So, is that something that we could, are these RTUs capable of doing that? And if so, could we obtain these filters prior to testing and balancing, or at least get a proposal to do so that they're in there from day one, they're tested, and the machines are tested and balanced with them in place on day one, and it's one less thing for Sal and his team to worry about?
Yeah, I'll have our engineers take a look and see what adjustment, if there's anything. We'll have to reach out to the manufacturer and see what could be done on those particular units. So I'll provide you with that answer, Eric.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions for Dave? All right. Not hearing any. Any old business? Anyone want to raise? Nope. All right. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Have a second.
I'll second. It's Meredith.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Rich,
thank you all very much for
in.
spending your Friday afternoons with us. And
everybody have a
great
good weekend. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Meredith, are you still there?
Bye-bye.